Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. It's our first Monday in the car with Star in a minute. Happy to be here. Happy to be joined by y'all. Don't forget, as always, you can like, subscribe, and share in the car with Star with your best friends. Like, if you're really, truly best friends, why wouldn't you want them to live their best life? And what better life to live than being with me in my beautiful Ash Gregoire Chambon and Nissan Maxima SR trim line? And another weekly installment of In the Car with Star, proudly sponsored as always by Axon, axongroup.com, proudly located and built here in Montreal, located in the South Shore. And I remind you, as always, that if you're ever in between, caught in between, in the need of short or long-term storage, I want you to think of no one and no one else than my friends at Axon Group and axongroup.com. Everything from logistics to freight forwarding, and yes, short and long-term storage done by the best in the business. A state-of-the-art facility, completely monitored, airtight security, 24/7, container stuffing, you name it, you've got it at the best rates in the business. Thanks to my friends at Axon, axongroup.com, proudly owned and operated right here in Montreal, and a proud sponsor of In the Car with Star. My friends, lots to get to today on this Back to Work Monday as I am set. I don't know how y'all are dealing with the new year and New Year's resolutions. I mean, it's what's the date today? We're already into the second week of January, and here I am talking to you about New Year's resolutions. I say this because I'm in the parking lot of my gym, of which I have not entered into yet, because I am committed to you. I am committed to us talking about the Montreal Canadiens on this game day, Montreal and Seattle. Bad news, 7:30, puck drop closer to 7:45, if we're being totally honest. But I've decided at this point, again, I've decided to use the pandemic as an excuse as why I've put back on a bunch of weight that I've lost. If you're new to joining us here, over the course of, just pre-pandemic, I had lost a lot of weight, working out, eating correctly, putting discipline in my life, And it really worked. I enjoy working out. I enjoy feeling strong. I enjoy leaning out and all that stuff. And I had lost quite a bit of pounds, almost 100 pounds, truth be told. And I've put some of it back on, not even half of it. I've put on probably 30 pounds or so. And I'm ready to lose it again. I'm ready to lose my pot belly, so to speak. I have bad eating habits. I need to be more responsible when it comes to what I put in my body. And I'm just a fan of going to work. I'm a fan of putting in the work, going to the gym, doing the cardio, and lifting weights, and ultimately feeling strong. So I don't know how y'all operate in terms of trying to kick your own ass. I am definitely up for suggestions. If you have any suggestions about what you use for motivation, workouts that you love to use, I am here for you. Also, I would love those suggestions, by the way. And also, just as a quick aside, if you are like me and that you are on the heavier side of things, and you're not 16, 18, 20 years old anymore. Maybe you're on the other side of 35 and you've got a partner at home, you've got kids at home, and a shitty job you go to all the time, and you're like, God damn, I know I need to be healthier. I know I need to lose weight. Outside of the shitty job and the family and working too many hours and being on the wrong side of 35, I relate to the struggle of getting back in shape. How do you do it? What's the best path forward? So from my own experience, and I've helped out a few people in my own business that have come to me privately and said, Sean, how did you do this? How did you do? What did you do? I love to help. I would love to help. And if you need motivation, you need a little extra in terms of what to do, things that worked for me on my weight loss journey, I would be more than happy to help you out, point you in the right direction, tips and pointers that work for me. And maybe if there's something that you can use to keep yourself motivated and ultimately get healthier, because that's what it's all about, right? Like the end goal, like we all want to look good naked, whether it's in front of our partner or whether it's in front of the mirror in the bathroom when we get out of the shower. We want to look good. We all want to look good. And with the end goal being living healthy and living a nice, healthy lifestyle for as long as we can. So this is kind of where we are. And I don't want to use New Year's as the reason why and everything else. Like, if we can get there, if we can start, now is the time to start. Well, people always wonder, when do you start? When do you start? Now, if we're thinking about it, let's start now. So if you have workout tips, strategies that have worked for you in your previous experiences, send them to me. And if you have questions about weight loss journeys, motivation, pointers, how to get there. I'm a big believer in short-term goals. You don't even have to message me publicly. Send me a message privately. My email address is inthecarwithstar@gmail.com. Send me a note privately. I'll respond to you, no problem. It doesn't have to be a public discussion between all of us. What up, Sean? What up, everybody? Good to be with you. Edward Marwick, what up, brother? Go Bills, yes. I want to get into the NFL playoffs. Wild card weekend is upon us starting on Saturday afternoon, San Francisco and Seattle. The Saturday night game features the Jacksonville Jaguars and LA Chargers, with the Jaguars as home point underdogs, the Bills big favorites, the 49ers big favorites. Two teams on their bye week are Philadelphia and Kansas City, representing the AFC and NFC conference. But let's talk about the Montreal Canadiens. That is why we are here, my friends. What do you think the real reason Uri Slafkovsky is still a Montreal Canadien as the Habs embark on the second half of their season that officially starts today? Game number 41 of an 82-game season starts tonight at 7:30, the dreaded 7:30 start against the very hot and very potent Seattle Kraken at the Bell Center tonight. I've got some best bets for that game. Stand by for that. But the real reason Uri Slafkovsky is here, past the 40-game marker, playing game number 41 today, I really think it has to come down to personnel. It has to come down to accountability, trust, knowing the guys that you know versus guys that are holdovers from the previous regime. My read on why I think Uri Slafkovsky is still a Montreal Canadien into game number 41 today is simply because Ken Hughes, Jeff Gordon have inherited an American Hockey League coaching staff from the Canadiens' previous regime. And look, everyone talking about the merits of sending Uri Slafkovsky back down to the Laval Rocket so he can get more minutes, be more confident, gobble up power play time, get first-line minutes, so on and so forth. And a lot of people use the Canadiens' record as a reason to explain why he needs to go back down there to regain confidence, losing culture, so on and so forth. Well, the Laval Rocket are sixth in the American Hockey League's North Division. They have 31 points, 34 games deep into their season. And I do believe that because Jean-Francois Houle and his assistants have been inherited by the new regime that are left over from Marc Bergevin's time here, I think there's a trust factor at work here. Not to say that I think Jean-Francois Houle is a bum and doesn't know his what side of the hockey stick one needs to use in order to score goals. I think it comes down to this simple fact. Ken Hughes, Jeff Gordon, Martin St. Louis is their guy. Full stop. They know Martin St. Louis. They trust Martin St. Louis. I think the organization would much rather have the likes of Uri Slafkovsky, Caden Gooley, Jordan Harris, down the list we go of younger players, especially on the back end, the very green Canadiens defensive line, have them under the watch of Martin St. Louis and Jeff Gordon and Ken Hughes, as opposed to maybe going to Laval, using a system perhaps that is different than Martin St. Louis' system. And look, I'm not saying I know this for certain. It's just another angle I want to present to those that are suggesting that the Montreal Canadiens are making a catastrophic mistake by keeping Uri Slafkovsky with the Montreal Canadiens. So they're kind of doing what I wanted them to do. If you remember, and we've got some hangover people that watched me last week, then you know what I'm talking about when I'm a sink or swim guy. You know, I'm like, do you have it or not? And giving Uri Slafkovsky the opportunity to go there and prove himself at the NHL level, that's a sink or swim. And then obviously, if we go back to before the junior break, when Uri Slafkovsky and the Canadiens were doing reasonably well, he was putting more pucks on target. He was more engaged. You saw some points there. Granted, he hasn't scored a goal since December the 1st. Is it a coincidence that Uri Slafkovsky's game has dipped, as has the Canadian season? Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, Kirby Dach, and down we go of guys in the team collectively that haven't performed well. It all coincides. It's not like Uri Slafkovsky's been an anchor dragging everybody down or holding line mates or the team back. That hasn't happened. At least that's not what I see. So as the team has gone, so has the young 18-year-old player. And what I asked and what I wanted to see from the organization, I think is actually happening. I want to see the kid fight. I want to see the team fight together to get out of that 7-game funk that finally came to an end on Saturday night. And what a fun game that was, right? You got a Josh Anderson goal when it looked like Jonathan Drouin had scored. Cole Caulfield scored another goal. Nick Suzuki picked up a couple of points. And the Montreal Canadiens won a teeter-totter 5-4 game with the visiting St. Louis Blues, finally putting an end to their 7-game slide. So Kirby Dach looked better in that game. He scored a goal that tied it up at 2. So all of this, and I haven't even spoken about Joel Armia, who dropped a deuce on the Blues on Saturday night in that 5-4 win. Of course, he scored his first goal of the season on Thursday night, followed that up with a nice 2-goal performance in front of the fans on Saturday night. And the Montreal Canadiens finally put an end to that 7-game slide. It was nice to see the team fight. The team recognize that, look, things aren't going according to plan. And even though Martin St. Louis continues, I think, to say all the right things, I am still led down the path of fully understanding that here we are going into game number 41 of the Canadiens marathon season, that the honeymoon obviously is over, right? Like the fawning over Martin St. Louis as the be-all, end-all hockey genius, he could do no wrong, yada, yada, yada. That storyline, that narrative is gone. It's past, never to be brought back up again. But what I still think is happening here, and it's kind of been my theme all season long, is the Montreal Canadiens are embroiled in a we're going to figure it out year. And I love Martin St. Louis after the win on St. Louis, talking about the fact that the team was in a struggle. Well, what are you going to do about it? And that's my whole mentality too. So I was so glad to hear that the team recognizes the reality that they've been crap, getting blown out of games, and what are you going to do about it, right? So it's an opportunity, I think, for the organization and the coaching staff really to look at the struggles and identify, like, who's in it. Like, who cares that they've lost 7 in a row? Who cares that they've given up 6 goals a game in 5 straight games? Who cares about that? And by that I mean, like, who's angry? Who's angry that they're getting embarrassed, getting blown out, that they're non-competitive, game in and game out in a 7-game funk? That's what I mean by figure it out year. And Ken Hughes is observing, Jeff Gordon is observing, and so is Coach Martin St. Louis. And to me, that is very much a winning mentality, because I do believe ultimately that, like, a team like the Boston Bruins, right, that went to Anaheim on Sunday night and blew the roof off the barn by just squashing the Anaheim Ducks, that they've won 32 games. The Bruins have won 32 games already. Like, the best team in hockey, right? Like, what do you hear coming out of Boston for a team that's won 32 games this season? You hear nothing in terms of drama, in terms of he said this, my coach is putting the wrong guy out there. What are our power play numbers? All this controversy. You always hear drama and nonsense as it associates with a losing team. You don't hear it for a team like Boston, as an example, that has won 32 games already. And so this is kind of what I look for. Who's ready to pull? Who's ready to lift heavy when things aren't going well? It's much more challenging to be a leader, a credible leader, without blowing smoke out your ass, because you're not fooling anybody in that environment, to pass yourself off as a credible leader when times are tough, right? That's when you stand up and take notice of who has the character to lead us through a very turbulent portion of the schedule that the Montreal Canadiens just found themselves through. So that 5-4 win, it's nice to win, nice to see some goals. Glad to see the Canadiens back on track. But the reality is the tank battle, my friends, is on, and it's on in full effect. What's going on? The Montreal Canadiens right now have the 6th worst record in the National Hockey League. 7.5% chance of drafting first overall. Here's the thing, though. Like, look up and down. Chicago, the worst team in hockey, right? They're 3-7 in their last 10. Columbus, 2-8 in their last 10. Anaheim, 4-5-1. San Jose, 2-5-1. Arizona, they've lost 5 in a row. They're 3-6-1 in their last 10. And Montreal, coming off a 5-4 win on Saturday night, they're 2-7-1 in their last 10. You know, when the Montreal Canadiens were fighting for wild card spots and trying to climb into the playoff picture, remember the conversations we would have about with the 3-point system in hockey, how difficult it is to make up ground? The same is true on the losing side of the spectrum when it comes to making up ground, trying to catch Chicago, trying to catch Columbus, who are sneaky trash, and the Anaheim Ducks. I mean, these are the 3 worst teams in hockey. Arizona has lost 5 in a row, and that leaves you where, right? The Montreal Canadiens have been stuck kind of in the 6th spot now for what feels like a couple of weeks, and it's hard to imagine that this team is going to make up that ground because teams like Chicago or Columbus or Anaheim or Arizona are going to start winning more than they lose. So it's going to be a fascinating ride. I was on tankathon.com earlier this morning. I did an NHL draft sim lottery, and the Montreal Canadiens, in my first attempt, my first simulate lottery now, the Montreal Canadiens ended up picking 2nd and 10th overall in the draft. Yes, my friends. Yes, my friends. Thank you, Florida Panthers, who, by the way, might be retooling a hell of a lot earlier than you or I thought they would be retooling. And here we are now. The Pantherinos, my friends, might be sellers in the days and weeks leading up to the March 3rd NHL trade deadline, which only makes the possibilities of Montreal's Florida pick. Thank you, Ben Sherratt, for that much more attractive, right? And then ultimately, what happens? Jonathan Drouin looks a little bit more engaged. Yoel Armia, can you trade him yesterday? Because he's got 2 goals off that Saturday performance. Trade him yesterday. Evgeny Dadanov. Is it a coincidence, you guys, that some of these veterans have a little bit more giddy up in their step as we get into the new year, into January, trying to make a good, positive impression that, hey, look at me, you could trade for me, I'm not a bum, I could still play. Yoel Armia, Evgeny Dadanov, Jonathan Drouin. Hey, Josh Anderson scored his 11th goal of the season on Saturday night, a goal I thought Jonathan Drouin had scored, but nevertheless, things in terms of personnel look a little bit better than they did over the holiday break. But guess what, my friends? The Kraken are in town tonight. Seattle has been pretty good all season long. They're 6-3-1 in their last 10 games, and have also won 4 of their last 5. And they're 7-3 against the spread in those 10 games. They've also covered the spread, and by cover the spread in hockey, that means covering a goal and a half. In they're 4-1 on the road this season in that category. By the way, the Montreal Canadiens, 3-7 against the spread in their last 10. So obviously going the other way. So this is the second worst team in the Eastern Conference that Seattle is taking on today. And they score the 3rd most goals per game in the league this season. And they also score and have the most goals 5-on-5 of any team in hockey. That's the team the Montreal Canadiens are entertaining tonight. And the Kraken, my friends, look at who they've beaten so far. They've, as I mentioned, they've won 5 in a row, including 4 straight on the road. They throttled Edmonton. They demolished Toronto. They've scored 22 goals in their last 5 games. So you do the math there, and have scored 4+ goals in 6 of their last 8. That does not bode well for the Montreal Canadiens today, especially for a team that has just 2 wins in their last 12, and their second win came on Saturday night, 5-4 over the St. Louis Blues. So if we're looking at it from that perspective, obviously I like the Kraken to win. As a matter of fact, I would even recommend Seattle minus a goal and a half. Again, 7:30 puck drop tonight live on TSN 690. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, Connor McKenna and yours truly will have this game completely covered, what happens and who's doing what. How does Uri Slafkovsky look? Which takes us to our other best bet of the day. For fans of football of the collegiate level. Don't forget, there's lots of comments coming in. I'm going to get to your comments in a second. Let me get this out of the way, though, if you don't mind. The National College Championship game football goes tonight. It is Georgia, your defending champs, taking on the Horned Frogs from TCU, Texan Christian University. And it feels like, I honestly got to tell you, man, the Georgia Bulldogs, averaging close to 44 points a game in their last 4 games, are an absolute juggernaut, a behemoth. So fun to watch, so dynamic. College football, definitely worth the price of admission. And I got to tell you, it feels like we're going to see a back-and-forth game today, depending on what these two teams do, and obviously what we saw in their respective semifinals over the holiday time. And it's hard to see at this point Georgia's defense. Are they going to be able to go in shutdown mode? They haven't really been able to do that on elite offenses since the Tennessee game. Now, in Georgia's last 2 games against really good offensive teams like LSU and OSU, Ohio State, it gave up 30 and 41 points respectively. And even though TCU got 2 pick sixes in their awesome win against Michigan, they got 51 points in that game, and it was because they are that good offensively. So the Bulldogs are going to have their hands full. TCU is not a lucky team to be in this spot. So obviously Quentin Johnson, the outstanding wide receiver for TCU, is going to be a main target for that Bulldogs secondary. He's just as good for me as Marvin Harrison Jr., who's been an outstanding, prolific wide receiver all season. We saw him in the Peach Bowl, how incredible he was. Obviously, he ends up getting concussed, so we don't get to see Marvin Harrison Jr. Go the entire way. But nevertheless, this is a stand-up-and-take-notice type of player. So when we look at how Georgia has performed, what TCU has done all season to get to a national championship game tonight, it tells me one thing and one thing only. We are going to see points. We are going to see a show tonight. At least that's what I hope. That's where I recommend over 62.5 points. I mean, let's have some fun. Let's cheer for points. Let's watch these quarterbacks. Let's watch these offenses and the talent do what they do best, and that's entertain all of us. So there you go. That's my advice for Georgia and TCU tonight, over 62.5 points. And I do like the Seattle Kraken minus a goal and a half at the Bell Center tonight. They have been an absolute heater. And, of course, the Montreal Canadiens feeling good about themselves in the aftermath of that 5-4 victory on Saturday night. Let's get to some of your comments. They are coming in fast and furious. Montreal, what's up? What up, Montreal? What up, Sean? Thank you. Edward Marwick, go Bills. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Ed, for paying attention. As always, you can like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. In the Car with Star, proud presentation of Axon, axongroup.com, locally owned and operated. The best rates in the business for your short or long-term storage, anything from logistics to freight forwarding. I want you to think of Axon and axongroup.com, proud sponsors of In the Car with Star. Jan 10, if you have Netflix, they teamed up with Nike to do training videos. That might be nice. I'm so glad you brought that up because I was watching that. I was browsing Netflix over the holidays because as a passionate golfer and someone now that is getting into his mid 40s, I'm 44. I want to take up yoga. I've never done yoga, not even for a second in my life, and so I'm interested in doing yoga. Specifically speaking, to get better at golf, so I could be more flexible. And I saw that on Netflix. I'm like, is it worth checking out? Is it worth putting it on and doing the workouts at home? Like, what do I need? Do I need things? Do I need a yoga mat? Do I need weights? Do I need a Bosu ball? Like, what do I need? TRX cables? Like, what do I need to do these things at home? Like, when the pandemic hit and they shut down the gym, and that's why, I lost my motivation when I was going to the gym and losing weight and going to the gym consistently 3-4 days a week. And then the pandemic hit. You couldn't buy weights anywhere in Montreal. You couldn't order them on the internet. I kid you not. I was filling up water jugs, putting them in a knapsack so I could do walking lunges with added weight. I would use cans of chickpeas to do shoulder flies and I would do 800 reps so I could feel some sort of burn, right? Like, I totally lost any mojo I had going to the gym. The stupid pandemic came and it zapped me of really any kind of momentum I had. So I don't really have equipment to do this at home. I would like to do it at home. But you tell me, is it worth doing? I don't know. And as I mentioned at the top, if you're just joining me, thank you. I'm still parked in the parking lot of my gym, 23 minutes into this In the Car with Star presentation. I'm going to go into the gym, going to work my ass off. And again, I've lost close to 100 pounds just by working out and eating well. So my email inbox is always open. If you need pointers, motivation, inthecarwithstar@gmail.com. If you need help, I can help you, and vice versa. Give me tips, workout routines that work for you. I'm trying to lean out, trying to lose I have bad eating habits, guys. I love eating. I love to eat food all the time. It's like my passion. Steph Howard, what's up, brother? I think Jeff Gordon made the call to keep Slafkovsky. I trust Gordon's call. I compare this not to Jesperi Kotkaniemi and the Alexander Romanov development. I think he's progressed and the whole team went through the slump. Yeah, pretty much on the same page. Together we are, Steph. When I was debating the merits of Slafkovsky with Montreal, not with Slovakia at the World Juniors, I'd say, look at what he's done. He'd been playing well, and then the team fell off, and then he fell off, and here we are now. Edward Marwick was at the game Saturday. Great game. Team has to play with emotion every game for sure. And look, it's hard, man. It's very difficult. 82 games, 2 or 3 times a week. Like, don't think about the salary. Don't think about it. Is hard. It takes a toll on your body. Losing sucks. Losing is the worst. And going in every night, not only are you losing, you're getting your ass handed to you every single night on a 7-game funk. That is no fun. It's easy to be Debbie Downer, and that proves my point, or at least adds more validity to my earlier point, in that it's very easy to be perceived as a leader when you're winning every single night, as opposed to losing every night. Who stands up? Who takes notice? Who says enough of this shit? I want to start winning. You're not playing well enough. I need to see more out of you. I hope there are voices like that on the Montreal Canadiens young team. Montreal back in the mix. I don't really mind the young kids, whether or not they're in a slump. They're going to get out of it. I don't want to see discouragement and a lack of effort. As long as they fight and show that they care, I'll be fine. Exactly. And it was funny because Mark Denis from RDS on the TSN 690 morning show with yours truly and Connor McKenna had basically made that point last week when he talked about, are they really developing when guys aren't trying? That is a massive red flag. And that's when I was talking about, like, you're not trying? Gone. I don't give me there isn't a 15th round in the NFL draft. Trade me a 15th round pick for a guy that doesn't give a shit. Gone. Out of here. I don't want any of that nonsense on my team. So I hope, Martin St. I have no doubt in my mind, Martin St. Louis' hockey IQ is through the roof and into the galaxy when it comes to guys dogging it on the ice. I have full trust in Martin St. Louis' ability to identify guys. Their care meter has dropped down to 0. I believe Martin St. Louis has a PhD in reading who cares versus who doesn't care. Scorchy, love that name. Darth Bettman will make sure Montreal. Oh, what the hell is this? Conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory from Scorchy. Living up to your hot take name. I love it, brother. Really? As opposed to who? Who? Chicago? I don't think Gary Bettman wants Connor Bedard to go to Columbus. I could see Gary Bettman wanting Connor Bedard to go to Anaheim. Yes, I can see that. I could see him wanting him to go to Arizona. But Montreal, you know what? I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I will entertain it for a second. I think if we talk about old school, old money, old history, old traditions, the Montreal Canadiens and the Molson family, I think that connection is worth more than its weight in gold. And I think Gary Bettman is fully aware of the historical context that comes with Mr. Molson and the Montreal Canadiens. And I actually kind of see it maybe the other way. The conspiracy theory that benefits the Montreal Canadiens because of the old-timey history between, remember, the NHL head office used to be here in Montreal. Montreal back in the mix. If the plan is to tank, they should start selling like today because, the plan, I don't know what the plan is. The plan to tank, I don't know. Like, the Canadiens were winning a lot of games in October and November. I mean, when does the plan to tank begin? I don't think there ever is a plan to tank. I think the plan is go out there, play hard, try to win, and get experience. That's what I think the plan is, honestly. Lots of comments coming in today. Edward, what up? I remember when you trained versus my buddy Vance. You did well then. Yeah, Vance Coumont. Man, I'm impressed. I remember Vance's name. I won a weight loss challenge bet against Vance Coumont, and he put my face on the side of his big rig. Awesome times. Costa, Ticane Sere Costa, Suzuki #1 center, Beck #2, Kirby Doc #3, Evans #4, all of that for next year. Where does Joshua Roy play? Where does Connor Bedard play? Acosta, get on the same page, brother. Connor Bedard's a Canadian. Haven't you read the news? Ajantan, what up? Based on draft percentages, it might be hard for top 3. Do you want a Slovak line with Dvorsky, Meshar, Slafkovsky, or something else? Well, as I mentioned, the Montreal Canadiens, I think it's 18% or something like that to draft inside the top 3, or to draft third, I should say, versus a 7.5% chance of drafting first overall. But listen, I did the draft sim lottery today at tankathon.com. I got the Montreal Canadiens drafting 2nd and 10th overall. I love it. Costa, Tony M should call you. For what? I haven't spoken. Tony doesn't call me anymore. Tony called me talking about Tony Marinaro, a former colleague of mine that I used to work with at TSN 690. The last time I spoke with Tony Marinaro was shortly after he left us, left the radio station. He's still with us in good health, I hope. I hope his kids and his sons and his family are doing well, and his dad. But the last time Tony called me was in the early goings of the summer. I remember I was I was on the golf course, and I got a call from Tony, and I said, "Oh, Marinaro's calling me. Ooh, wonder what this is about, you know?" And he wanted to know who I recommended as a golf teacher. And then I said, me, I recommend me, pay me. And that was the last time I had spoken with Tony. So I hope he's doing well. I wish him obviously nothing but the best. Fond memories of a lot of studio time and a lot of laughs on the air with Tony Marinaro. Other than that, that's it. That's all, my friend. Thank you as always for all your comments. Lots of comments today. Good views. Don't forget you can always like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It's totally free. Totally free. Who doesn't like free things these days? You know, we were doing some food shopping the other day, and because I'm eating better now, working out, going to the gym, I've driven myself into poverty by buying romaine lettuce, and because I love big salads, I love putting all sorts of stuff in salads. I have no problem. I love salads. I could eat salad. I could put tuna fish in salads. I could put sunflower seeds, dried cranberries, apples, walnuts, you name it. All sorts of good, fun textural plays in the salad, right? And we know what was weird? On Sunday, I'm at the IGA in Alexis Neon, and romaine lettuce, non-organic, $8.99 for 3 heads of lettuce. Organic romaine lettuce, $5.99. Huh? What? How does something like that work? I don't know. I'm not in the grocery store business. I don't know if that was a lost leader or anything else for them, but I just so I jumped on the organic romaine lettuce bandwagon as I'm going to have to go take out maybe a line of credit at 12% interest in order to sustain my healthy lifestyle. You know, you gotta eat well because that's what drives the body, my friend. I've tried doing the workout, and then wash it all down with a McD's or something like that. It doesn't work. So don't try that strategy. Been there, done that. It does not work. In the Car with Star, proud presentation as always. AxonGroup.com. Anything for your short or long-term storage, think of Axon and AxonGroup.com. This is a locally owned and operated business out in the South Shore. The best rates, and of course, a trusted authority in freight forwarding and logistics. AxonGroup.com, your leader in the transportation and warehousing space. Go check them out online. Friends of In the Car with Star, you could support me by supporting my sponsors like K-Stop Gas Bar and Dippener. Their kitchen finally back open today. So I don't know if it's a Burrito Bowl Monday. Tomorrow will be Taco Tuesday, but K-Stop Gas Bar and Dippener, your one-stop shop for premium fuel at discount prices. Highway 138 in Ganawage, so it's right over the Mercier Bridge. You can save time by going to K-Stop Gas Bar and Dippener. They'll gas you up. You can go snack up inside their unbeatable convenience store. If you're a smoker, they got cheap smokes tax-free, booze too tax-free, all sorts of great snacks that you usually see in the U.S. stores. But they've got them at K-Stop Gas Bar and Dippener, and freshly prepared meals by their amazing kitchen staff. Proud sponsors of In the Car with Star. So thanks as always for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow in the aftermath of the Montreal Canadiens Seattle Kraken game today. And again, a quick wrap up here. I like the Kraken minus a goal and a half. And in the college national football game tonight, over 62.5 between Georgia and TCU. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all the love, you guys. We'll be back here tomorrow to recap the Montreal Canadiens and Seattle Kraken game.